Welcome to Yoga Teacher Journeys, your podcast for all things yoga and mindful living. I'm Claire.
And I'm Bianca, and we're two yoga teachers sharing the insights and wisdom we've picked up along our journey so far.
Whether you're thinking about teacher training or exploring yoga as a way of life, join us weekly for inspiring conversations.
Let's go on this journey together.
Hey, hello, and welcome back. Episode 9 we're on now. How amazing. So exciting. And so today we're going to be talking about the different types of yoga styles that we've experienced and just tell you a little bit more about them and really focus on the fact that there is a yoga style for any point in time in your life, really. I guess starting with the types of yoga we learnt during our 200 hours, we focused on Hatha and Vinyasa. Just as a quick summary, with Hatha yoga, you tend to hold the poses for longer. So up to sort of 10 breaths, 30 seconds or more. So you stay in the asana for longer. And it really helps you to give you the time to focus and concentrate on that particular asana. Whereas with Vinyasa, you tend to flow more between the different poses. And so it's more of a connection of the breath with the pose and flowing through that into a more meditative state.
Yeah. Vinyasa, I would say, is more like fiery. There's more heat built in a vinyasa, isn't there? It can be more creative. It can be more, there's not really like it has to look a certain way. Vinyasa is totally different depending on what teacher you go to.
Exactly. And that's probably why it's become one of the most popular ones, even though it might be labeled different things. Effectively, you have your basic structure, and we're going to talk about that next time, your basic structure of the class. But then it's really up to the teacher to put their own creativity on it. You can create different themes around it. So you could have a more hip opening flow, or you could have a balancing flow. There are so many.
And the possibilities are endless with the themes, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. But there are other styles. Obviously, I teach a Hatha actually more on a Sunday morning.
That feels like a Sunday vibe, doesn't it?
Right? So it's, a little bit more time. Yeah. Something that you can really take time to get into the poses, really feel the asana. My Vinyasa classes are more during the week, lunchtime flow, evening flow. And then if you think about different times of days or during the week as well, for example, a yin class, which is when it's more like a deeper stretch. You hold a specific asana for up to 5 minutes, really.
And love a yin. Love it.
That would be like an evening, like a Sunday night. That would be like a perfect time for a yin. What do you like about yin?
Yin for me is I only practice yin maybe once or twice a week. Because I think, again, you can't do yin every day because you can like overstretch. I think it's about balancing it in with everything else that you do. Again, depends on what your lifestyle is like. The world needs more yin because there's a lot of yang energy, isn't there? So Vinyasa is more yangy, isn't it? It's very like energizing. Whereas, yin is the complete opposite. It's more slowing everything right down and going into the fascia, creating flexibility in the body and space in the body and then space in the mind, isn't it? I think yin is probably the hardest one for a lot of the people in the Western world to practice because slowing down is the hardest thing to do when we're all so busy all the time.
I was literally about to say that. I think people would struggle the most with yin because you have to stay in the pose for so long. So you really have to breathe into it. And there's nothing else you can do. You really just have to breathe and stay there. And I think that's also what's challenging with Hatha as well, is holding the pose. You really begin to get the benefits from the pose when you actually want to leave the pose. That is really true.
It's working with the ego, isn't it? More so because it's like management of the mind. Whereas when you're moving more quickly in Vinyasa, it's easier to be in the body, I feel.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably why it's become so popular. And the ones that are more of a workout, everyone wants to feel the heat. If they don't feel that they've got a sweat on, they think that it was a waste of their time. And even in Vinyasa, I've heard some people say, oh, I can't do yoga. I find it too boring.
Have you been to a spicy Vinyasa class? Some of the Vinyasa classes that I've done are harder than any gym workouts.
Absolutely. And I think even back to, we've spoken about this, back to having music during your class. So during the training, we didn't have any music. And at the beginning, it took us a little while to adjust, but actually afterwards, it made sense. And it almost felt strange that we had to go back to adding music to the classes for our students.
Yeah, there's something about those Hatha classes that we did on our One Yoga training with Santosh. They were beautiful. And there was a lot of pranayama, there was a lot of breath work. So it's almost like less asana, more of all of the other things. The meditation, the breathing, the slowness, the stillness, the alignment. Very mindful.
That's right. Very mindful, and just more time to notice the poses, notice how you're feeling in the body. And yes, when you are flowing through a vinyasa, you do not have as much time for that. Especially if you're a beginner, you're very focused on trying to understand what is the next asana that you're going to be doing, because you might not be used to the sun salutation flow. You might not be used to the sequencing or the type of yoga that it is. And therefore, you're simply focusing on what is the next thing I need to do. And you don't even have time to think about the breath at that point.
And I think if we're looking at, I always go into the nervous system, right? So if our nervous system, if we're feeling a bit lethargic, a bit flat, a bit disconnected, a vinyasa actually could really be what you need to re-energize you, right? Whereas if you're the other way and everything's feeling quite hectic and heightened, a hatha could be something that could be very beneficial to bring you back down into a more grounded space. But then also, I guess it can work the other way. You know, when your mind is really, really busy, sometimes the thought of a hatha class is just like, I cannot. So a vinyasa, maybe that movement can also help to slow down the mind, so then you can have a bit of slowness after. So I think you can make any yoga work for any time, really. It's just having awareness of what they all are so that you can kind of manage it throughout your week, because we can't fit them all in now. With that, would like to. But yeah, Hatha, vinyasa are probably the most popular. That's what I'm seeing mostly in the UK, I would say. Yin, there's a bit of yin. Ashtanga. Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I see a lot of this power yoga. And I'm just like, I just laugh, to be honest.
Call it what you want. Call it what you want.
Call it what you want. But the word power attracts people and makes people want to go to the class for some reason. Which is interesting. I guess you have to convey in the title as best you can so that people understand what it is, for sure. But I suppose you mentioned Ashtanga there. You did practice a bit of Ashtanga. What was that like? What is Ashtanga to you?
Have you ever done Ashtanga? We did one class, didn't we, at One Yoga? We had the Ashtanga class at One Yoga, and I'd never done Ashtanga before. And I remember in that class, we were all exhausted. Do you remember?
I mean, the best part was when she said, this is the easy transition. And then it's not an easy transition.
Was it like a backflip or something? So Ashtanga is like a set sequence, and it's very disciplined. And there was one point in my journey, I think it was just after I finished the yoga teacher training, that I was like feeling a bit lost. So I was like, okay, this will be good to have some structure to my days. So I actually found a school in Chiang Mai, and I went and practiced Ashtanga for the first time ever. And I was going to these sessions, they're called Mysore sessions. And in those Mysore sessions, you basically go through the sequence on your own. So it's not like led at all. And you have the practitioner or the teacher coming around and helping you into different postures. But you're doing it on your own, but you've got someone there to assist you if you need it. And you're meant to practice Ashtanga like 6 days a week. The same sequence 6 days a week. And I can't remember how many asana there are, but I actually quite like the sequence. I still practice Ashtanga now. On a Sunday, I try and go to a class in Milton Keynes that's led. So it's like the full sequence that's led by a teacher, which is really, really great. Different to the Mysore. Mysore is self-practice. And then I also sometimes practice Ashtanga just like online as well. So I've kind of got to know the sequence. There are still some poses that I can't do. But again, it's that practice of the more you practice, the more you can get into different poses and different ways with the body. I really like it for the discipline part. And I think it's a great one if everything else is feeling a bit all over the place. To have some structure in that way, it can really, really help with other areas of your life, I think. Absolutely. And I love the idea that you go to the class, but you're doing it at your own pace. And when you know a sequence and you just start to flow at it at your own pace, that's when you really feel the benefits and you really feel the meditative state of the repetition and progressing in the sequencing. I think that's great. And also pushing yourself. You say still some asanas you can't do, but you're getting one step closer to being able to achieve those. And I have been going to a couple of classes here in Budapest with this particular teacher, and I think it's a little bit more Ashtanga led for sure. I've been going into certain asanas that I haven't been able to do, and being able to progress also gives you such a sense of accomplishment. And especially as a teacher, you kind of maybe get stuck a little bit in your own ways of how you teach and what asanas you go towards. And maybe we should sit down and write down all the asanas we don't teach, because probably we're shying away from the stuff that is. Yeah. And the good thing with Ashtanga is you do the same thing every time, so you can see that progress. So Ashtanga is great for routine. It's great for discipline. And I think it's beautiful. When I'm in India next year, I want to go to Mysore and actually get some Ashtanga practice in.
Ooh, that would be good.
Yeah, we're doing it for. Yeah.
So do you think you have a favorite?
I feel like Vinyasa and Yin I'm going towards. But Vinyasa is also based on the Ashtanga. So it's like they're all interconnected somehow. They're all like branches off each other. Yeah, I really love a Vinyasa, energizing Vinyasa. And then I love a Yin as well. Restorative. How do you feel about restorative?
I do like restorative.
All right, somehow we need like a different day of the week for different types of yoga, right?
Absolutely. There's too many to try. And I think and with different teachers.
Yeah, and a big part of yoga is about self-inquiry. So I think the more you practice yoga, the more you know what you need. Okay, so the more you get to know yourself, the more you try different types of yoga, the more you can make it work for you. I've got a list here of what style of yoga is right for you. And I'm just going to read them out. Okay, so Hatha, like we've said, is for very mindful movement. So it's slower, more connective. It's a really great practice to manage the mind, isn't it? I think, yes.
Absolutely. It's great preparation for meditation.
Yes. Vinyasa gets the heart pumping. So that's very energizing. It can be quite fiery. It can be quite spicy. It can be really creative. You can literally do what you want with Vinyasa. I do like a Vinyasa flow. It's more flow, is what I would say with that. Ashtanga for the routine and discipline. Yep. So again, time and a place. I think we probably go through phases in our life where we feel like we need more structure. And then there's going to be times in our life where maybe there's a lot of structure and yang energy that we then need more yin. So yeah, it's cool. Kundalini. I've never actually explored Kundalini in terms of in a yoga class, but that's great for spiritual growth and spiritual healing. Have you got much?
I did practice Kundalini once in London ages ago before my yoga teacher training. And I did enjoy it. It was challenging and very like sharp, repetitive movements. I think and it's
very activating, isn't it? Like
very activating. Yeah. It felt a bit strange, but also good. I'm going to a 2-day yoga festival in the first weekend of November, and there will be some Kundalini there, Kundalini activation and all of that.
You can report back then, can't you?
Yes, so I'll let you know what happens there. And it's one of those things, a bit like Marmite, you love it or you hate it.
Yeah, we'd like to experience it to see what's what. Maybe when I'm in India, I can do that. Yin yoga is for flexibility and like that meditation, because you have to allow yourself to be. It's a practice of finding that edge as well, isn't it, with yin? It's finding that point at which it's slightly uncomfortable, but it's not like, oh my God, this really hurts. So yin can be actually, the frog pose. That one, when I think of yin, and then you come out of that posture and you almost got like pins and needles, and you've got that, you have to slowly come out of these poses. And then we've got restorative, which is for deep relaxation. I would say that one is like giving your nervous system all the love. So a nice little overview there. And I think there's a time and a place for all of these practices. And there are many, many, many more that we haven't explored. Like there's so many different styles of yoga. And I think this is the thing, right? Before I started my yoga teacher training, you'll probably be able to relate to this. I thought I'd knew quite a lot about yoga. And then you go to a teacher training and you learn all of this stuff. And then you realize how much there is still to learn. It's a never ending, you're always a student when you're a teacher, like always a student. And I like that about yoga.
I love that. I think it's so important in life to just keep learning forever. Keep that brain engaged, keep learning something new. Otherwise, life would be so boring. And so I love the fact that yoga is such a broad topic. And as you say, it's a never ending learning experience. And you just keep pushing yourself. And as you say, different times of your life, you need different styles of practices, so you can explore those as well. So it's such an amazing lifestyle. Yoga is a lifestyle in that sense. And I think it will be fun to give people a little bit more of an insight in terms of the structure of a yoga class. Because I had some conversations with friends who said, oh, well, I just do the 15-minute thing on YouTube or the 20-minute. And I'm not saying that's not beneficial. Of course, it also is. It's always beneficial. Even 5 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of stretching, 5 minutes of yoga is going to give you some level of benefit. However, you cannot experience all the different parts of the yoga class that will get you into that shavasana, into that blissful meditative state in 15 minutes. And therefore, allocating an hour at least will definitely give you that benefit. And so I think it will be great to give everyone an insight on what are the different parts of the class, what makes up a class, and means that you will arrive in shavasana in that state.
I think the beautiful thing with being a yoga teacher is our students, they're learning from us, and the things that they're learning from us, they are then practicing in the 23 hours, the rest of the day. You know what I mean? That 1 hour that they have with us is where they learn yoga. The rest of the day is where they practice the yoga. And that's what is so, so beautiful. And I think if you can find a teacher that has like a depth to their practice, it isn't just surface level. This is wisdom. This is ancient wisdom that goes back. I don't even know. I can't even remember how many years. A lot of years. They're close. I couldn't give you
all the years.
All the years. And, I think there's the fitness yoga, time and a place. And if that's like an entry point, amazing. But there's so much more. There is so, so much more. And yeah, we can definitely unpack like what a typical class maybe looks like for us, just to give people like a little overview. I think that would be nice to do next time, because again, going into your first yoga class, what do you expect? Like what to expect?
Absolutely. There's a reason why yoga is still around after all these years.
Yeah.
And it's because it's something really meaningful, really powerful. And I think both of us connect with the more spiritual side of it. And that's what we love sharing. So yeah, excited to tell you more about that next time. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you then.
See you next time.